Upgrades.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another JVS movie review. Today, I'm bringing you a movie that I stumbled upon. And sometimes it's fun to find films that you stumble upon and wonder if they could possibly be good. And here is the movie. It is called You Can't Run Forever, and it stars J.K. Simmons, Isabel Anya, and is directed by Michael Schumacher. And here is a quick synopsis. Suffering from anxiety, young Maria faces a terror when a serial killer chooses her as his next target. As he chases her through the woods, she soon finds the strength she never knew she had to elude her murderous tracker. Everything about that plot tells you late 90s bad thriller. Everything about this movie gives you mid 2000s bad thriller. Like, it's one, the film starts off with J.K. Simmons at the beginning of the film where he just pulls up to a gas station and a guy is dealing with a dog and this other couple is sitting in chairs, and then he goes on a murderous rampage. Nothing is explained to you what's going on. That's just your introduction to this film as J.K. Simmons plays the killer stalking this young woman played by Isabella in this film. No parts of the plot make any sense. Let's start off there because that's a good place to start with this film. Because right after the killings, nothing is overly explained to the audience exactly what's going on. You're stuck as an audience wondering, what's the motives of the killer? Why is he doing this? Why did he just pick them? So you have to go with the theory that out the blue, he just randomly ran into people, Maria and her stepfather, randomly kills her stepfather. What's the reason? No one knows. But he wants to kill her. He wants to hunt. He loves the thrill of the hunt. I think that's the purpose that they're trying to prove to this film, is that this killer is supposed to love the thrill of the hunt and it's supposed to be extra terrifying if you ever ran into a situation where a killer is lurking and no explanation is given to you. While that can be a terrifying premise for a film, where this film struggles is that at times J.K. Simmons, in his best over-the-top role possible here, it comes across as too cartoonish to be serious. And it's because the plot is so bad. Like, in the end, we're stuck trying to care about this young family, this young girl who has anxiety that it's just randomly thrown out there that she has anxiety issues. And then her mom's pregnant with her stepfather's child, and then her stepsister, who wants them to be like real sisters, pops up at the scene. It's so much exposition thrown at you for this film that it leaves it just unwarranted. And then we have bumbling cops in this film also, which also makes absolutely no sense. It's almost like when they were making this film, they didn't understand if they wanted to make a film that could be absolutely terrifying by not giving any explanation about what the killer was doing. But in turn, to do that, to make it great and executed well, you also can't care about the family. And this film goes out its way to make you care about this girl and her family. And that is the fatal flaw of this film. At no point in time, because of the way the premise of this film is, should you have to care about the family. Once you get to caring about the family, I think you get to caring about the storyline and the plot. And because there's little to no story and the plot is as weak and as shoestring together as humanly possible, the film suffers because you decided to go with a family angle. Now, if this film would have just introduced you to a situation where this young woman and her dad was carjacked, and then everything happened, I think you could have got one of the best low-budget thrillers humanly possible. Because in the end, J.K.'s character still amps up enough terror at times to make it believable. He gets really, really cartoonish by the time you get to the third act, but at that point, it's just because the story is so weak. And they just make the killer do certain things. It's a horrible, gratifying scene that happens in this film that makes absolutely no sense and is completely unnecessary for this movie. that they just threw in there. That's what it feels like. A lot of it is just them throwing stuff against the wall. Let's see if it sticks. Unfortunately, none of it sticks. Because again, the execution is so far off. This film had potential because the premise is interesting. But they ruined that by attempting to give you this heartfelt family story that they never flesh out enough for you to care about any family member, including a young woman who's chased around as the lead in this film. You don't care about this character. They don't do enough to build her up to make you care. And that's why, to me, it would have been a better decision. Instead of attempting to make you care about them, it's just to throw the audience in the middle of this brutal chase and then have you figure out everything as you go along. Even if it never gives you the conclusion on exactly what was going on here, it would have been a more satisfying film than you doing these half-baked ideas of making this family dynamic work or make the audience care that it even exists. That is the flaw here. As it pertains to the direction of this film, it's clearly a low-budget film. It looks like a low-budget film. It feels like a low-budget film. The director does her best to build suspense. But again, at times, so many questionable decisions made with J.K. as the killer in this film that it takes away from most of the suspenseful moments because it just comes across as just too cartoonish at times, instead of him being straight-laced killer, kind of the first Don't Breathe film, where you didn't know much about the killer, but he was terrifying in everything that he did. That's the angle that they should have went with instead. They made a nice, funny killer who wants to be menacing, and none of it ever works here. And then including giving the killer a backstory. It's so many elements of it that make absolutely no sense. Again, from giving the girl a backstory with her family to giving the killer a backstory with his family, trying to interject all of this and at the same time put humor in this where that element was not needed at all here. You just take away from everything that this film could be, along with this film running about 15 minutes too long because it gets repetitive after about 40 minutes. It's very repetitive and they just ran it a little too long. And this is not even a long movie, but they ran it too long. I think those are the flaws of this film. Michelle Schumacher does as much as she can, was given to her. And at times we get some amazing, beautiful shots. At times we get some moments that feel like they can build suspense. And then we get other moments where we're just wondering why we're still sitting through this movie. Unfortunately, those moments of wondering why we're still sitting through this movie are grand. There's so many more of those moments than there are the suspenseful moments that it completely takes you out of this film. But if you're just looking for a cheap budgeted thriller that possibly can entertain you just enough to get through an afternoon or evening, maybe You Can't Run Forever could be for you. But as long as you're not paying attention to story, plot, direction, or acting, if you don't pay attention to any of those elements, maybe you can love this movie. But You Can't Run Forever, currently available on every VOD platform humanly possible. Out of a possible 10, I'm going to give You Can't Run Forever a 2 out of 10. The premise is still there. It's not executed well at all. And it's too much stuff thrown in there that really makes you lose focus on exactly what you should care about of the film. But when we're just dealing with the chase of it all, of him hunting this young girl down, it has its entertaining moments. Just enough that for some people, I think it will be watchable. For others, because again, as I stated already, the story, the plot, the acting, and directing may throw you completely off in this film. But if you just like thrillers, if you love the Lifetime category of thrillers, because that's what this really, really feels like, it could have been a Lifetime film. If you like that category of thriller, I think you'll rather enjoy this film. But if you don't, I think this is an easy skip for almost anyone else. But check it out. Let us know what you think. This has been another JVS movie review. Peace, people.